I think you'll find that luck is nice, but you can also make your own luck. And John Mark's one of the hardest working guys out there, and that's incredibly important. There's some people that don't work as hard, sort of view the company as a lifestyle company and doesn't get anything done. But again, John Mark is one of the hardest workers that I've known for the last decade. And I think we're coming into the cusp where everything will work, but he's going to make his own luck. And I'll leave it to John Mark to take you through the story.
Well, it's great. Thank you so much, and I appreciate people coming. And one of the things is we're talking about generating a value, and we're just talking about how we've been doing that. And recently, we actually began to further do that by dividending out to shareholders the different spin-out companies. And I think that after working, we've been here for 18 years as Riverside Resources, as I founded the company with a 20-year business plan. That means I got 2 years left for us to make some value here. And I must say, when I started the company, I was working at Tech Resources. I was working for a gentleman named Norman Keevil, and I thought I was full of myself, and I wanted to be the next Norman Keevil, and all I feel like I've been more like Evil Knievel. But we've tried to do it and make it work, and so this is a forward-looking statement for Riverside and where we are. And basically, within Riverside, we've tried to create the shareholder value through the project generator model, and particularly with a couple of tweaks. Going forward, if you come to our booth, you can see we've begun to take bundled up portfolios and dividend them through a share split to shareholders. If you look right now, you can see that value. We have a whole portfolio in British Columbia, another portfolio still in Mexico, and royalties on everything we've done. So when you look at Riverside overall, our strategy has been to focus on top jurisdictions. Our strategy has been particularly to work on places that we could have low cost to get in, low cost to explore, but on projects that had big potential. Working for the major companies, we've worked for BHP, Antofagasta, Hochschild Mining, ongoingly had them invest. So they have done the due diligence. And the proof is in the pudding in that the projects that we've worked on collectively have now grown to be quite significant. Any of you that were shareholders prior to COVID time, right at COVID, we spun out the first company that we dividended to shareholders, Capitan Silver. Maybe some of you can see that Capitan Silver, that's this company here. I'm still the chairman. That's now over $100 million market cap, and we got that first at $3.5 million valuation. So that's 3 times larger. That we had further growth in that, and us as shareholders, I continue to hold, and maybe you do, and Riverside has a 1% net smelter royalty on that. So that's progressing. They're working on now a new resource, and that new resource will grow, and so that's excellent. So why invest in Riverside? First off is we definitely have proven that we can find good projects. We've been able to forward those. We have good cash position. There's no financing. We haven't had to finance substantially since before COVID. So as the US government and the big bill and Trump and all the other things we've been learning at this conference about dilution and debt, Riverside has none of that. We have generally the same number of shares that we had prior to when we were coming to this conference in Boca Raton. As long as we've been coming here to Boca Raton and doing this conference, Riverside has not been diluting the share structure. Royalties, we have active projects that are moving ahead through the development process that Riverside has royalty on those. And so over time, these projects we've developed have that royalty potential. Upcoming catalysts right now in Mexico. Put out a news release on Monday, drilling with the partner Quest Corp that Riverside is the operator. So we operate the projects, we're able to get out on the ground and do that, and Quest Corp fully funding the project. They need to spend 5 times more on the money than so far we've had already into the, so we have a good long pathway to success, and Riverside's moving ahead at the Union project. The tight share structure of 75 million shares is really critical to our business model. That tight share structure we further can tighten when we do the spin-outs. So right now, when we spin out Blue Jay, for example, it's at a 1-to-5 ratio. So Blue Jay financing last at 40 cents Canadian would be the equivalent of 8 cents Canadian at a 5-to-1 ratio. with Riverside currently trading at 16 cents in the share price, that would be half of our market cap value dividended to shareholders just last month in March or May. So that's the type of unlocking of value we're talking about. One thing is putting it on a slide, the other is demonstrated with actions this year. We've been doing that ongoingly and doing that, giving that to shareholders as a share split. Therefore, it's not really a dividend, it's simply more shares into your account. We did it as well with Capitan Silver. It's so exciting to see Capitan Silver today up another 18%. Capitan Silver really making a big move. And by having it be a sole-focused asset with a great CEO and Alberto Orozco, a really good team, and myself luckily to be found to be the chairman of that business, delighted to see that beginning to tickle $100 million Canadian valuation. So you as shareholders having that. This is a share chart that goes over the last 5 years that shows the Riverside, but also the value, including the spin out. So if you look at what's the value, if you look at what you got from that dividend, it's actually been well over 3 times the share price and the value you've gotten on top of it. So when you look at Riverside share price, it's not correct to just look at Riverside, but at the share value of what's happened with the spin outs. Well, when we look at that, what might be the next share spin out? The next share spin out could be in these groups of red that Riverside has. So Riverside has, again, a portfolio in Sonora, Mexico, has a portfolio in British Columbia. We've taken the Ontario portfolio. Red would be what we own. Gold is where we have royalties. So we have converted what we had as properties into royalties. Rather than giving these off to just anyone or optioning them off as single projects, by giving them to shareholders in this way with a really great CEO, Jordy Mark, we can really move those ahead aggressively. We still have the upside potential and we can go forward. This is a good market. We do think this is a good time. And so if we can rapidly do this, this is a great way to unlock value and to give us the upside. Those shareholders acquiring more shares right now is excellent. Myself, I've been buying more shares in the market. I've been really good about this is a great time for Riverside. If we look at our share register, 40% of that shareholder base is European. These are sticky holders. Delight to have those. And for the people that are online watching as well, it's so helpful to have this global shareholder database of ownership. We also have ourselves as management and insiders holding 10%. And then we have a nice group of retail investors, but also institutional investors in the United States and North America. So we have a very good shareholder base, very dedicated, and no warrants. Doing no financings, no warrants, no overhang. So it really has that upside to it. So Riverside here having $4 million cash, we have a really good balance sheet. Myself being the leader of the company, formerly worked in major companies and really great to have taken that experience and apply it. The rest of the team as well has worked with major companies ongoingly, working with the Vice President Exploration who's been involved in discoveries. And from a board perspective, having board members not that are Vancouver friends or anything like that. These are serious mining individuals. For example, James Ladner, who's a major banker in Switzerland, and having Swiss bankers on the board, people that have really been in the business, or having James Clare, who's a major lawyer in Toronto, big in M&A, director in Sol Gold and significant corporations, and people that are really seriously in the industry. So there's no softies here. This is very serious and real and really about what's real. I mean, this is my full-time thing. I'm not involved as a director, officer of anything out of what we've created in Riverside. I've had that focus, and right now is the time. Right now is that time where we're taking advantage of it. So we look right now in British Columbia. Riverside is moving forward with gold, but also with critical metals, with rare earth elements. And we welcome government support. The government in Canada really wants to do that, and so it provides additional funding for these projects. So as a generator, Riverside has a huge database for British Columbia. Riverside has always focused on data and databases. In fact, we've had the same database team with us for 18 years. So we're not just coming at it lately. We've been able to use those databases, do multiple projects, working for major companies. So critical metals right now, Riverside has begun to add the Revel project and add rare earth element projects to the portfolio. We've also doing gold, places that you can drive up to. We're not in the Golden Triangle, we're not up in the north, we're not up with helicopters. We must do things that are low dilution to Riverside. So we can do things that you can drive into, that you can get to, you can work, you can really do all year round thinking about it. And this photo here is out exposed carbonatites, right out on the surface out there where historically known, and we've hired the former British Columbia geologist Trig Hoy, who'd been in charge of mapping most of the southern part of British Columbia, and he's consulting for us, taking us to what are his favorite projects, what are the best places that he's always wanted, and using that experience. The Deer Park project near Trail, British Columbia, is a very interesting project. We're very excited by that, and be able to work in the Rosslyn camp. The Rosslyn camp, high-grade gold, high-grade mineralization. So these are the type of high-grade, good projects that can move ahead. British Columbia recently has been seeing the development of new mines and progress, and Riverside has these projects that are good. So we've built out more in the British Columbia. So as we as Riverside were vending out and taking forward the vision, as I saw 2 and 3 years ago, moving ahead Blue Jay, and then last year said, by this time we'll have Blue Jay out. We did that, check, got that done just as expected. Now, how do we move forward with continue to work outside of Mexico, additional projects in British Columbia? Don't have to go back. We have the capital is really a great way to go. So we have the skill, the same people, so we don't have to do new things. We can work with what we know. That's excellent. We have the tools moving ahead, and then we move to Mexico. Mexico, we've been able to work for a long time, very stably and successfully, and so we look first off at the Union Project. Union Project is a very interesting gold project. It's a carbonate replacement system, and it's a really interesting project to work on, and that's great. So with that, we have the work at Cecilia. Cecilia is a large dome, a very interesting silver project, high-grade silver, good veins, good mineralization, and Riverside has this project 100%. So when you look at Riverside, you say, what do we have? Riverside can move ahead with drilling here. At Union, we're moving forward with drilling coming up in August. We've already announced that we're making progress, and we had a news release here about some of the exploration results this month, and so we're delighted to be moving forward at the Union project. Very hot out there, super warm, middle of the summer in Sonora, Mexico, but it's making good progress. And then copper, and I brought a sample of the copper just for fun, the green copper. This is on the surface. It's actually very close, 17 kilometers across from the mine of La Caridad. La Caridad is the second largest copper mine in Mexico. Mexico is the world's 8th largest copper producer. These are the 2 giant mines, La Caridad and Cananea, and this is a project that's never been drilled. We've done the deals, consolidated the tenure, and have very interesting porphyry copper. So inside of Riverside, you have silver, gold, and copper all together in a nice bundled up situation. And one can see how Riverside has unlocked portfolios, Riverside has unlocked projects over the last few years. It's a great time to own Riverside because we have these projects already. They're permitted for drilling. We have the team on the ground. So it's really set up for moving these projects ahead. I like this little picture on the bottom. It's hard to see. The white spot on the back is actually the tailings from this giant copper mine that's been going since 1975. And there we are across the way, standing on this nice copper system where we have copper on the surface. Very interesting copper project. In this last year, we have continued to buy out and consolidate the land tenure. You may follow in Mexico the news about no one can get new titles or no one can get permits. Well, we have been able to get exchange titles, existing properties. We've been able to get exploration permits and move ahead. So sometimes you can get things done when you're local doing the work. These are some of the companies over the last 15 years that have come out of the Riverside portfolio, helping to form the companies such as Blue Jay and Capitan, but also Silver Viper, Arizona Metals, Faraday Copper, Copper Bank, things like that that came out of the Riverside portfolio. This is the aggregate value of the businesses, the market caps that came out from Riverside. So as Riverside had the project go over to someone, those corporations then grew. And so they grew collectively to $900 million. And so that's a really great way to go. And Riverside, as those companies grew, always kept royalties. So I think the one thing to take away from this talk is Riverside has been a royalty generator. We now have this royalty portfolio, and there is value to be unlocked with those royalties. If you look at the transactions that have been happening recently, in fact, if you look just this week with the purchase of Sandstorm being bought out by Royal Gold, there's a huge amount of consolidation. Elemental Royalties served breakfast in this room. Fred said right here at this earlier today, talking about all the transactions that are happening on royalties. You look at Riverside, we have all of these royalties going forward with Fresnillo, other projects. We have all of that in the portfolio. It's taken us 18 years to get there, to build those up. That's value. So as we have that in Riverside, that's what you're getting. I don't think it's priced in. I laugh because here we are, we spun out a company and our share price is back to where it was before we spun out, and we spun that out. It's a crazy market. It's a really good business, and these royalties we own. With all those royalties, with the cash position, we don't have to have any dilution. It's great. And we have 4 prongs of action catalysts. So the reason to hold Riverside right now, catalyst would be exploration results in Union, drilling results, exploration results on gold, exploration results in British Columbia, exploration results on copper. All of those things can help catapult in the short term the value. But imagine our business model, how we've been able to build businesses and dividend them out. As soon as we get the new CEO and putting it together, then we can do more dividending of these businesses to us as well, further freeing up the value of the royalties. So Riverside's super solid. It's a great time to get in. I've been buying more stock recently myself, just in the market. Glad to accumulate more. There was discussion, should we do a share buyback? And I figured I would be the buyer back. So we're delighted to connect with anyone. We have the booth here as well. And particularly, we really appreciate people that have been shareholders, have been with us through time. We've had a number of great runs, and right now, we're moving ahead. And if you look at the value of what we've spun out, there's been doubles and 5Xs already, really good terms. And I think now what you can see is the results from the active programs that we have going in the next 6 months will be good catalysts to go forward. And lastly, I really like that we've built these businesses of portfolios. You can see how the red stars, which were the projects we have became gold stars as our royalties, and we're set up to do that again. So I'm looking forward to being back here 12 months from now, having forwarded those projects, and particularly seeing additional royalty action that Riverside can do, and the moving forward on the projects where we have the royalties, where it's not diluting us as a company. Thank you so much.